you'd like to contact the show, send us an email at liveonfourlegspodcast@gmail.com or get involved in the conversation on social media. Join the Pearl Jam Podcast community group on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at liveonfourlegspod.
So you can see with 27 shows in Boston under our belt, tonight we're going to fuck with things a bit. I hope you're happy about that. And away we go.
You're listening to Live on Four Legs, the live Pearl Jam podcast experience, featuring
Mr. Stone Gossard. Fucking Cameron in the drum. Mr. Boom Gasper. You can call me Al, you can call me Ed, you just fucking call me, why don't you?
Hey everybody, now welcome to Live on Four Legs, a definitive live Pearl Jam podcast. If you're listening in, last week we did Seattle 2000, and that's obviously a very popular show. This week we're doing Boston 2010. This is all part of Murderers Row month, where we're just going and hitting you with great shows, memorable shows from great areas. Next week is going to be Philly. The week after that is going to be PJ 20 Night 1, then PJ 20 Night 2 with a Munich, the 10 show from Munich in 92 kind of spliced in there somewhere. Yeah, there's no lack of content for the next month. You guys are going to be set, and this is the second kind of in the two hole here with another great show with tons and tons of rarities in this set list from the Backspacer era, which we don't really talk about a whole lot. So let's just get into it. Randy Sobel over here, John Farrar over there.
Hello.
Hi. Like I mentioned, we don't get into this era very much. So
yeah, it's been a while since we've done 2010. And
yeah,
we haven't done very
2010
many of them.
especially. No, and I think that's because we did it in the beginning because I had been to a couple and I wanted to get them out of the way, like Hartford and the MSG shows. I wanted to just get them out of the way. But yeah, there's some real gems on this tour. And some of them, not this show, because I think this show is highly revered, but some of these are like kind of low key great from this tour.
Yeah, they were in a good place on this tour because you were kind of in, we're in the modern era now, so they're just in play anything mode. Like any night, you never know what you're gonna get. So yeah, this is a good one. I got a lot of stats for this one, so the stat people, the numbers people are gonna be happy with this episode, I think.
This is a very stat heavy episode. It's also like, how many times do we talk about these Backspacer songs that are going to come up?
Right.
Fixer's going to come up today. Force of Nature is going to come up today. Got Some is going to come up today.
Yep.
Really, like, and honestly, that feels low. That feels low for a Backspacer tour. But also, when you look at the discrepancy of albums, 10 No Code both have 4 verses. Yield and the Dogs have 3. Vitalogy has 2, and then 1 for Binaural Riot Act and the self-titled album. So everything
they covered everything.
They really did. Yeah, they hit all their bases. Not to mention that they did 4 cover songs as well. So yeah, they kind of hit on everything here, and it was kind of one of those dartboard shows where you're just like, all right, here and there, and I think we did one of those kind of shows from 2010. I want to say it was Newark.
Okay.
Where it was the same kind of thing where, they would do one or two from Riot Act, do 1 or 2 from the self-titled, and kind of hit everything.
Yeah.
This tour is so tough because you said it, they're in a good place. We have kind of made a habit of covering them when they're not so much in a good place. And I think
drama. Yeah.
Right. When there's drama, when there's, like something to key in on, to zero in on. But like all throughout this listening to this show, and I listened to it a bunch of times, was just like, okay, this is about the music. This is straight up about the concert. And one thing that I have in particular that I was going to save, but I'm gonna bring it up now, just as kind of a spoiler, a tee up for this show to kind of tease or what have you. I think, and sometimes this happens in shows, I think there are shows that are much better to be at than to listen to on bootleg. And I think that this is one of them. And not to say that this was a bad bootleg listen at all. It was not. I think that the energy from this one, the type of songs that they were playing in the fashion that they were playing them, I think makes for a better live environment than listening to it on a bootleg and trying to kind of dissect what they're doing live. Because I think this one in particular is so much different than a lot of the other shows that we kind of do that have a little bit more flow, that kind of have this, back and forth. This doesn't really have that as much.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, I think it's part of it is, it's always better to be in the building than to be listening to it on a bootleg. But, the bootlegs are the best that some of us can do sometimes. But yeah, this one is like you don't really get, a lot of times it's the crowd too. And like, we haven't done a Boston show. Here's, I got some trivia questions too. Do you remember the last time we covered a show from Boston on the podcast?
Well, to be specific, I think it was Mansfield, right? If we're playing specific here,
I'm saying Boston. I'm not saying Massachusetts. We'll get to that later.
Boston,
yeah.
Boston wise, just Boston. The Orpheum. Going back to that. Wow.
Remember what episode number that was?
Yeah, 32.
31.
Oh,
very close. Very close.
Those early ones just kind of choke me up sometimes.
So it's been over 100 episodes since we've covered a show from Boston, so we are due for this one. But
Boston proper, as they say.
Yeah, the YouTube video doesn't really do the crowd justice. You feel sometimes that the band is responding to the crowd, but you don't really hear it as well as you should almost. And the bootleg is obviously a little better if they do a better job of capturing that. But still, I feel like Boston's one of those nights, and he mentions this a couple of times where they always go back to the Garden and the Orpheum and some of these special crowds, so they always bring it at these shows. And yeah, this is a good one.
So we're doing this one because it was a Patreon request from Tom Gregory. It was also a Patreon request from Jared Jackson. Jared Jackson is no longer a patron, but this one's still dedicated to him if he would like it. And but Tom is a current patron and a friend and somebody that just wrote into us with a little sample of writing for liveonfourlegs.com and wants to write for liveonfourlegs.com, which is an open invitation for anybody else that wants to become a writer. It's always open, and not even just writing concert reviews. We're looking to do other things as well. We're looking to do kind of blogs and kind of branch out a little bit, and we'll talk about specifics and we'll talk about the kind of things. And I think the day that we launch, you'll see that, okay, here's what we're doing. We're doing things a little bit different than some of the other publications that are out there that are fan dedicated publications. But we'll get into that maybe at some point. But again, Tom requested the show and wrote a little story and some bullet points here. So he said, for Boston 2010, I don't really have a story with a good narrative or a punchline. I just love this one. Other than the rarity-filled show itself, the only unique thing I remember is that I went by myself without a ticket and took a chance with a street ticket. I ended up with a discounted balcony seat hovering right over Mike's side, which was a great view. Always leverage a fast-approaching showtime with the sellers. 2 things this show taught me. 1, sometimes you just gotta show up and good things will happen, even if you don't have a ticket. Mm-hmm. 2, it's not weird to go by yourself to a Pearl Jam show. I think both of us know this.
Yeah. We've had a few people mention that lately. Yeah.
Yeah, I like going to a show by myself. I feel like you're not, especially if you're bringing somebody that's kind of on the fence about it, and they're not going to match your enthusiasm. It sucks the wind out of you a little bit. I like being able to just do it, to just sing and just kind of enjoy myself. And, you get around strangers and sometimes those strangers become friends because they're doing the same thing. So
Yeah, all of my
I'm with
shows
him.
I've been by myself. Yeah.
Every single one. Wow.
Yeah.
The next sentence is you'll always find people to chat with and rock out with. This is very true. And you have much more freedom to roam around the venue and attempt to move up to a better spot. So setlist memories here. Number 1, release was electric, showing the band early on that the crowd was in fine voice. Number 2, Backspacer performances were all really tight, probably the best Force of Nature version. All right. Number 3, getting both Love Reign Over Me and Crown of Thorns, 2 of their most majestic covers. Number 4, I swear up and down that I recognize Rival from the drum beat, name that tune. And number 5, and of course the wild set list overall, never thought I'd get Push Me, Pull Me, or Undone, or many of the other rare ones that night. Tom, thanks for writing in, as always.
Absolutely.
And I think that kind of says it all right there. All right, let the show begin. And Tom mentioned it. It does begin with a very electric version of Release.
I see the world beyond the chill. Which way to go? Wind or sail? I see the world on a rocking horse of time. I see the words in the rain.
I think this is really setting the tone here. And I like to emphasize the word tone because Stone's guitar tone in this is very interesting. It's kind of deliberate and bouncy a little bit more than kind of how Release just sort of opens up and kind of gives you room to breathe. Like this is kind of setting you to a faster show. Kind of, it's not trying to rush you through Release. It's kind of complementing the other songs in the set list.
Yeah, I agree. Stone, like this early part of the set is Stone, like classic Stone. The release is great, the ending especially. I thought it really sounded good, and this is another one of those release shows where we've talked about so many times when you get that as an opener, it's going to be a special night. And yeah, I love the ending to this with all of them together. Mike and Stone and Ed just playing their hearts out. I think they really knew they had something special going on here.
Yeah, and like we mentioned before, Mansfield shows happened in 2008, but the last time that they were at an arena show in Boston, I believe, was 2006 for 2 nights on that Avocado tour, which is memorable for a ton of people because one of those nights they brought back Leash, so definitely kind of coming back into the same territory here where they're recognizing, all right, this was a good crowd for that, so let's do sort of the same thing. Animal follows up Release, and it's Animal into the Fixer, and you can kind of, it's a great sing-along, and you can kind of tell how the crowd is reacting to it. The crowd was really reacting to Release, and the crowd kind of brings that same enthusiasm and energy into Animal, and it's an adrenaline rush already. It's already up to a fast start.
Yeah, and then the Fixer just comes on, and
I know.
I think they thought that it was going to fit in this early spot, but it just doesn't have the bite. It's not fast enough. It doesn't have the energy.
Yeah.
I mean, again, as much as Stone tries, like Stone's into it, he's bouncing around over there, playing it, but this is not the right spot for it. And it just drains kind of all the energy out of the set list, I thought.
I completely agree with you. And the only thing that I'll say is that maybe in 2010 you're thinking a little bit different because you kind of have this understanding that it's still an album tour. They're still kind of promoting the album a little bit. So this was the #1 song that they were promoting, at least the first single. Yeah. So you'd have to think, okay, it's going to be in a prime spot. Every time that I saw it on this tour, it was somewhere hovering around here. But yeah, I agree. It overall does not work. I think one of the PJ20 shows, it was song number 2. I think they did like wash into the Fixer or release into the Fixer. And I thought, whoa, that just sucks the wind out of it already. And I don't want to say it did suck the wind out of it, but it just like, I don't know. It isn't a good fit, especially. And this is not to say anything about In My Tree, because I think this version of In My Tree is excellent, spectacular. But you're not going into another, like, just banger. And it doesn't have, like, it sticks out because of that. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Definitely. It felt like, and again, I think it's them thinking that it does. Like you said, they played it early on a lot around this time. And And again, and then it just dropped, and they hardly ever play the song anymore.
No.
So I think they eventually came to that realization that, like, this song just kills any momentum, because it's a fine song. It's mid-tempo. It's melodic. It's kind of you can kind of bop and dance to it, but it's not like a rager, like a get the crowd like fired up song that I think they thought it was going to be. It hasn't even turned into really like a sing along. It's just very strange.
What do you think is the spot for it? Perfect set list.
Yeah, maybe like mid to late in the first set, maybe, when you're just kind of like, you're kind of just fitting in things before you build up to the end. Like that's where sometimes you get like a B-side, like kind of where Got Some is at this set, or
that's exactly what I was thinking.
They'll throw in a rare one. Sometimes you get like a Leatherman there or something.
Would you package it with Got Some more often than not, or would you separate the two? Is that a killer?
Maybe on this tour, maybe, but now definitely.
Oh no, not now. No. I'm mostly meaning 2009, 2010.
And you're famous for you didn't like Got Some in the encore. I think
I don't like
encore, it just doesn't. It's just not that kind of song, and it's the whole Backspacer. Like, it's just not that kind of album. It doesn't have those like really. With a couple of exceptions, doesn't have those really anthemic, like emotional, soaring kind of songs. Like you have Unthought Known, you have Just Breathe, you maybe have Amongst the Waves, but that's it.
Yeah, it's a short album, but you're right. A lot of those songs are kind of tweener songs that you just really don't know what to do with live. I had mentioned it 2 seconds ago, but In My Tree follows this up. And In My Tree was actually starting to be utilized around this spot, because I remember I went to the Chicago show, and I think they opened up Hard to Imagine into Last Exit into In My Tree, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Like you're sort of redirecting the balance of the set very early on, and that's what they're doing here. But it doesn't necessarily bring the mid-tempo energy. It just builds to get to that big energetic moment.
It's great. Yeah, I'm with you. There's a little bit of a false start, like Matt hits the drum beat early, or something, where Ed turns around and looks at him like, you're what? But oh my God, it picks up immediately. And it's that moment when Ed goes to put on the guitar right before the solo section at the end. And
yes.
It just, everything just comes together, and you can just listen to it, just get lost in how good it is. Everyone's pushing, sometimes I talk about that surge that you get when like everyone's pushing and everyone's just locked in completely. And it's like the sum becomes greater than the parts.
think that the mannerisms from everybody in the band are very upbeat. The band is loose and just enjoying themselves. And a lot of the shows from this tour, there's no real negative energy anywhere. I think that, Backspacer is a pretty light album and it kind of reflects what they were doing in these tour years. But, they were just in such a good mood. This is a Monday night show, too. You'd think, obviously, Boston, like Monday night shows in Boston are probably better than a lot of Saturday night shows elsewhere. But you have to think they're on the road for a while. This is kind of middle to end of this little leg here. Maybe usually they would get kind of tired and this would kind of be an off show, but they don't take it off. They're just enjoying every single moment of this. And I think you're right with everything that this song brings from Mike to Matt, just kind of working together, and the soaring solo works. It's perfect and continue to set a tone for the rest of the set.
Definitely. Yeah. They usually save those off nights for a place like Hartford.
That's not true in this instant, though. Because Hartford 2010 is a lovely show, and I recommend it to everybody.
Just messing with you.
Ed says,
in my trees, big highlight of the show. Fantastic.
Yep. Ed says here, we're going to have to work for it tonight. And they mentioned they played 27 Massachusetts shows, mostly in Boston, some in, I think you guys did Springfield a couple of weeks ago.
We did.
We talked about Mansfield. They've done Worcester, and Worcester was after this, so that doesn't even add into the equation. So I think now with 2 Worcester shows and 4 Fenway shows, that's 33 shows now, which is a lot.
That's right. Do you know? Here's trivia question. Trivia time.
All right, let's go.
Do you know? I'm assuming you know, but maybe the listeners don't. So maybe we'll figure this out. Do you know where Massachusetts ranks in the list of states with the most Pearl Jam shows?
I actually don't. Don't. I feel like we have done this before and we have figured this out.
It's been a while.
Right. It's top 5. I know that.
It is. Do you know what number 1 is? Let's start there.
Washington.
No.
It's not Washington.
It's not Washington. There's one state that has almost double the shows that Washington has.
California?
Correct.
Okay. There's so many places to go in California, and
the bridge school. Yeah.
Right.
California number 106 shows.
Oh boy! Wow.
There.
Damn.
Yeah. A lot of early stuff. A lot of 91. A lot of 92.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of San Diego. A lot of LA. Think about it. A lot of places to play there.
Lollapalooza, a couple times on that Lollapalooza tour. They were down there 3 dates or so in Irvine.
Yeah. State number 2. Take a guess at what state number 2 is.
Well, I mean, now I'm not very confident that it's going to be Washington. I feel like Washington has more than 33. I'm confident in saying that.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's either New York or Pennsylvania. I'll go New York.
New York is correct.
Okay. All right.
Is correct. 66.
Ooh, wow.
They've got a long way to go to catch up, but they're getting
there. I don't think that's happening at this point, but so
okay,
we're going to keep going here.
Yeah, we're going to get to Massachusetts.
This is how you know we have a slow set.
That's right. Washington 55. Okay. Through there. And then Massachusetts in at number 4 with 33. Pennsylvania only 26.
Really?
Surprisingly enough.
Is that number 5?
No, I think Texas has 30. So
Texas has more than Pennsylvania. Wow, with all those Philly shows that they've done.
Yep.
They haven't even been back to Texas since 2013.
Yeah, but remember, I think we mentioned it too. They didn't play Philly for a long time. There was a bunch of years where they didn't play there.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
But I thought that in those years they played like Hershey or something like that. They kind of made up for it in the Pennsylvania area. But that's crazy. I didn't even think about that because Camden counts as New Jersey.
Correct.
Wow. By the way, speaking of Texas, Live on Four Legs has never done a Texas show.
Ooh.
That's changing. I think we're doing one this year. I think we have one on the schedule.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, never done a Texas show.
Interesting.
Believe it or not. All right. back into the set list here. I think I mentioned the 27 shows, and then Ed mentions a bunch of small town names. I didn't write them all down. Holden and Norwood were the two that kind of stuck out to me. I don't know if you have all 20 of them that he said, but
they all got a good response. It sounded like there were people from all of them there.
I would think so. People travel. People in Massachusetts will travel to go see them,
Yeah.
but of course that's
not
going
too long to go, not too far to go.
Oh, no. Elderly woman, force of nature, given a fly in this little section here. And the point I want to make here is that it's weird having force of nature in the middle of it, because these two songs are so powerful and you're breaking them up. And I feel like putting them together make a lot more sense, for a set list that's not in an album touring year. I feel like they would do that a lot more, and Force of Nature would be the weird one to choose because they've played it less than 10 times.
Right. But I think Tom was right. I think this may be the best Force of Nature. It has a little bounce to it. It's got a little bit of an edge to it. It has a fantastic solo. This really stuck out to me as being good, because you see Force of Nature on a set list and you're like, oh, okay, time to look at my phone, or time to do whatever. This is just going to be, by the books performance. But this is great. I thought this was fantastic. And yeah, they only played it one more time after this at MSG, and it has been gone for over 10 years now.
Yeah, and it was a good performance. I thought Mike was a standout on it.
Yeah.
And for what the song is, I don't hate the song. I'm surprised that you said something positive about it, though, because I thought that most certainly this was kind of a lower spectrum Backspacer song for you.
It is, and I never think about it like it's just one that you asked me to list Pearl Jam songs. Well, you'll be here for a while before I get to Force of Nature. So
sure.
I never think about it, but
right.
Yeah, this one surprised me. It was good.
The band doesn't do the song any favors by putting it in between two powerful arena anthems like that.
That's
and
true.
Maybe that's why it only got one more play, because they didn't really know where to go with it.
And it's the same thing we talked about with Fixer too. Like, it just doesn't carry momentum well.
Sure.
Like, it just going from small town to Given to Fly, you expect that to be like, we talk about those waves. You need the wave. Like, Force of Nature, just there. It is no wave. There's
it's neutral.
It doesn't do anything for the set. So it's just one of those weirdly tempoed and paced and Backspacer songs that doesn't really fit anywhere in a set. You almost need a little mini set of Backspacer songs. They can be their own little thing, but
right. But also you want to separate those, because you never know if people aren't into the album as much.
Right,
do they kind of get sucked out of the show? You just never want that to happen either. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of shit. But
again, it's too bad this, because looking at it and you're like, oh well, after this they stop playing, and you expect it to be kind of a bad performance, or like someone missed a cue, or like it was off. No. But no, it's a great
they just moved on.
Song. It's just one of the things where I think Ed felt the same way. Like, this just doesn't fit anywhere. It just it just doesn't do anything for the set.
Right.
Wherever you put it.
Probably not getting it's not like a sing-along song. It doesn't have parts that the crowd can really, like Unthought Known. There's so many that you can respond to. There are responsive moments in Just Breathe. There are responsive moments in Amongst the Waves. It just doesn't happen with this song. That's probably why it got kind of chopped off. But Elderly Woman, Given to Fly, both great performances. And now we're kind of dipping our toe a little bit here. It's the same kind of section here. Sad, Unthought Known, Pilot. And instead of a Backspacer song being in between two huge anthems, it's in between a Lost Dog and a complete Rarity. So it's a different idea here. I think Sad becomes an energy boost because of that. Obviously Given to Fly, raises the stakes, and I feel like Sad just brings it to another level. I really, really enjoyed this version of Sad. The build, when they kind of get back into the chorus and it kind of revs up a little bit more, it was already pretty fast version. but
It is.
it just gets like a tail bit faster here. I like when they play it fast. I know we talk a lot about how pacing and momentum in songs is good, but Sad is one of those songs I just want it to rip.
Structure of a corduroy where you hear that opening and you're like, oh yeah, this is gonna be good. And
yes,
like, the people who know
and they clap and
yeah, and it's great. It's a little like infectious little earworm, you know, that little riff at the beginning. It's so great, and it serves a really good purpose here. Yeah, Sad and this is a good section. I mean, Unthought Known's cool. Like we've mentioned a couple of times already, it is one of the ones from Backspacer that has stuck around and has become like has gotten some moments to it and stuck around. And
it was just starting to separate itself from the pack and around this time.
And Pilot too. I'm watching this and like, this is just cool. It's a Jeff song. Jeff songs are cool. He's got that new solo record coming out, and I was even thinking about it like, man, I need to go back and like get into some of those Jeff solo albums. Even that first one that had that, he had that song A Forest, which was, you know, rumored to be, it was, the Pearl Jam tried to record it. I don't think I've ever gone back and listened to that song, even though I've meant to for years and years. So this kind of triggered me to be like, yeah, like I need to go back and do that. So shout out to Jeff. Very cool. I love it when they play Pilot. Deep cut for Yield. So yeah, awesome.
You get 2 Yield deep cuts here. One's about to come in a little bit. Yeah, Pilot's cool because everybody's singing on Pilot. You don't get that a lot.
I like that. Yeah.
And it feels like everybody's mic is up for most of these songs, even if they aren't approaching. It feels like everybody wants to contribute something to these performances, which is nice. You don't usually get that.
Yeah, it's a cool visual to see them all. There's not many songs that have that, but yeah, Pilot's one of them where you get to see everybody up on the microphone at the same time.
Absolutely. 27 shows in Boston, but tonight we're going to fuck with things a bit. I hope you're happy about that.
That wasn't obvious
already. Right. Now we're starting to fuck with things after, you know, Sad and Pilot. All right, now's the beginning. Hail, Hail, Push Me, Pull Me, Even Flow is this little section. And I would think that here would be reserved for the Even Flow spot, but you're getting a song that usually isn't mid-set in Hail, Hail. That's up where the Fixer is.
Yep.
You would think in a normal set, Hail Hail would follow Animal. Yep. But great version of Hail Hail. Push Me, Pull Me comes out of nowhere. Like,
ooh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I had a false belief and I thought we came here to stay. We're all just visiting. We're all just breaking like waves. The ocean's made me, but who the fuck came up with love? Oh, push me, pull me, push me, pull me out. Push me, pull me. Push me, pull me. So if there were no angels with their...
You get that classic Push Me, Pull Me into Even Flow transition that we've gotten so many times throughout the years.
I actually want to look at the numbers on that. Out of the 13 times that Push Me, Pull Me has been played, the song after has been Even Flow twice.
Oh, so
tied for number 1 with Garden twice.
Okay, cool.
They like to put it before 10 songs apparently.
Interesting. But no, I got a stat for you for Hail Hail. Stat time.
Got it. All right.
Can you believe since this show, Hail Hail has only been played 35 more times?
That is really hard to believe.
That's criminal.
That's really, really hard to believe.
I know we haven't had shows in 3 years, but it's really 8 years of shows. Only 35 times. And they've 208 before this.
Right. I mean, they went through the whole entire 96, the whole entire 98, most
Yep.
of the 2000 tour
Yep.
where they played this
Yep.
every night. Like, not kidding. Maybe Even Flow or Alive would get taken out of a set in 98, but Hail Hail was there every single show. I think Hail Hail and Corduroy are the two that are there every single night. So it
And
shows
Even Flow's been played like 180 more times since the show.
Wow. I mean, those
Yeah.
are telling numbers. Even Elderly Woman has been played about 150 more times.
Yep.
That's
That shocked me with Hail Hail because I thought that was much more common, that you would get early, but it
of course,
is not.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that has to do with probably the same thing that this show has, is that you're saving some of the early parts. When you think of the Lightning Bolt tour, Mind Your Manners is going to be number 2 or number 3,
Yep.
or Lightning Bolt's going to be number 2 or number 3. And even with those shows that have the slow burn openers that have 3 songs and then get you into the set, you want to get into the Lightning Bolt songs quicker than you usually do. And because Corduroy is more of a staple than Hail Hail, you're usually getting that instead of the latter.
Yeah. That's only like 1 out of every 6 or 1 out of every 7, maybe. My math probably not right there, but yeah, that seemed way low. But Hail Hail rips. I mean, it's a fantastic version. Like I said, weird spot for it usually earlier, but give it to me anywhere. Love it. I mean, give me a Hail Hail to end a main set.
Yeah.
Let it just rip. That ending's fantastic. When the bridge hits, it's so good. Push Me Pull Me's weird as you want it to be. The intro's weird before they get into the kind of straightforward, like kind of pop punk part that they turn that part into. Jeff is awesome on that super weird intro, and they nail the ending. Like, you see Jeff kind of look back at Matt like, and stop. Yep. And even Ed points like, hey, we did it. Like, good job, guys. That was a cool moment.
I love watching in Push Me Pull Me. I love watching or listening to the crowd reaction when they figure out what the hell it is. Because that intro with kind of like, you're kind of getting a haphazard drum beat a little bit and then some bass, and it is sort of rambling, and it's a deep yield cut, and some people don't go that deep into yield. I don't stop yield. I listen to every single track, obviously.
You don't yield to yield.
I do not yield to yield. I think that those lyrics aren't recognizable at all. And then kind of when he gets to that pull me out part, and then back into the chorus a little bit, people are like, oh, that's what it is. And you kind of hear, like, when one person figures it out, the rest of the people sort of audibly come in, and they're like, oh, okay, I know what this is. And that especially happened for this time because they brought it back after a massive delay before one of the Spectrum shows. It got in on Spectrum Week, and then it came back. This was the first time since the Spectrum. Then it came back at the MSG show later that week, which I was at, and had that exact reaction, like, what the fuck is this? And then when I realized it's Push Me Pull Me, I'm like, I did not know that this could be a pop punk song, but I fucking love it.
Yeah, I would venture to say probably 75% of the people do not know what this is at the show.
And that just makes it awesome.
If I heard that bass come in, I would freak the fuck out. Like, I would love to hear this.
I've seen it twice. I've been lucky enough to see it twice, and I would kill to see it again. So hopefully, they're thinking about like 30 plus songs, 30, 40 songs that they're going to get warmed up for the festivals that they're doing next month. Hopefully Push Me Pull Me is part of it. I would
don't hold your breath. Yeah.
Highly doubt it, but you never know. Crazier things have happened. Ed mentions the next song is dedicated to the life of Boston resident Howard Zinn. He loved being introduced here on the stage a few years ago, and then he goes on a little bit about how he wrote a few songs that were hopeful and that used a couple of his quotes. The one that comes to my mind immediately is Down, and that's usually the song when they mention Howard Zinn in Boston. That's usually the song they end up playing. But on this night, of course, even with the most common or one of the more common Lost Dogs, you're not going to bring that up. You're going to bring the one that they almost never play, and the one that they haven't played since this night is Undone.
Last stop on the West Coast line, just south of the northern border, one small
5 out of 5 here.
Another one that this was the ending of, we're talking about so many of these that have this is kind of the end of its run. And this is another one, like, how have they not played this since 2010? It's so good.
It's a great song, I agree, and I can't put my finger on it. The only thing that I can think is that, does it hold its weight with, because when you think of other Lost Dogs that people kind of salivate over, like Fatal and Hard to Imagine and other songs like that, and that maybe the band feel a little bit more confident about, maybe this one is just because there wasn't a lot of fan hype over this song. Maybe that's why they've kind of stuck away from it a little bit.
That we talked about that with Force of Nature being kind of a set killer, and this is not that. I think it has a good vibe to it. They even add a little breakdown to it, like it gets real quiet, like they throw something in that's not in the studio version, which makes you think like, okay, they like worked on that, they practiced it. And for them to just after this just be like, no, never again. It's just surprising, sad. I don't like it. I hope this one comes back at some point.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's one of those songs, and I'm a little surprised that they brought it up here. I think they just brought it up for shock value, but it's one of those songs that sort of kind of comes in. It's very specific. The lyrics are very specific. It's very time period specific. So I wonder if they were gonna do that, 2020 election tour, if this was gonna be part of it.
Maybe.
Maybe one or two
nights. We'll never know.
If they did Massachusetts or something like that, would they bring it up? But yeah, I fully agree. I really like this version, and I'm a little disappointed because the Lightning Bolt tour brought back a lot of those kind of songs for the first time in a long time, like Let Me Sleep and other songs that we could be here all day kind of mentioning, and this one didn't get the call up. But I really do enjoy it, and one of the things that the ending that I didn't realize out of the ending is that the ending, to me, I almost thought that it kind of sounded like that breakdown in Black, Red, Yellow before they're going into like the last chorus, maybe right after Rodman's answering machine goes off. It kind of felt like that. It kind of had that like tee up to it, just the ending of the song.
Okay. I would never have connected those together, but okay.
I never would have either until I listened to it. I'm like, I think the first thing that came to my head is I'm on fire and and then I'm like, wait a minute. Why do I know this? Why is this familiar? And that's obviously the reason. So I don't know. Maybe I'll kind of mess with it in the in the credits of the episode or something like that, and we'll see if it works.
But we've talked about so many stats. And then this reminded me too. Live Footsteps has that. The orphan songs on their front page, whatever, like these songs haven't played in so many years, and like we're hitting on a lot of those tonight.
We really are, yeah.
I mean, we're not going to get Just a Girl, but we're hitting on a bunch of the top 5, top 10 here.
Yeah, no Get Rights or obviously no Arc, but yeah, these are definitely up there, that's for sure. Okay, now not some rare stuff, but like some kind of uncommon little goodies here, not for you, Red Mosquito, and got some. Back to last week where we mentioned Ed's table and how many were sitting at Ed's table. Seats one. This one, it's seats 4. There's no room for more. I want to go back to that because I said like that's a good indication of where Ed is in his life.
You think when he got that surgery, he's like, shut it down. No more.
Yeah, right. Did he get it? I don't know. Actually do it?
That you said he says it in the song. No room for no more. So shut it down. No more.
I'm not speculating on that. You called me out on speculations last week. I'll call you out on speculations this week.
Fair
I'm
enough,
not speculating on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just inferring things from the song. I'm not implying anything.
I think 2 is enough. I think that's just what he's saying. He didn't say anything about a specific procedure that would prevent him from having 5, seats just 5. But great version for you. I thought the Modern Girl tag on it was excellent. Just kind of brought it down a little.
Stone Solo alert.
Oh my God, you get a couple of these in this show. Oh, you gotta wait. We gotta wait like a half hour before we talk about it again. But there's another great talking point about Stone Solo. Oh my goodness, yes,
Yeah.
agreed. And Mike Solo alert because Red Mosquito. Holy moly! I feel like we haven't covered this on the show in months. I don't know why.
Huh? Yeah.
It's just one of those songs for us. It just kind of it comes and goes. Here today, gone tomorrow kind of deal.
And I love that they're splicing in these no code songs too in this main set. Just every few songs, one pops up. I love it.
Yeah, 4 in total. That feels pretty hefty for that album. But they're probably, outside of not playing present tense, they're the best ones.
Yeah, I'll agree. Not that there are bad ones on that record, but I'll agree.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong. But like getting no code songs in this era does feel like a bigger treat because it does feel like the album is kind of one of the ones that gets left behind. That and Binaural don't have like the specific, especially you said it before with Hail Hail, how little they play Hail Hail. That should be an indicator right there that once you get something no code, that is special. Keep it. Yeah. But Red Mosquito also has this little like pre-song chord strum that sounds like kind of like that little mosquito bite, I call it, sound from Mike, and it kind of gets you primed. And you feel like if you're in that crowd, ooh, that sounds a little like Red Mosquito. They get into the song, and I feel like if that's me, I'm totally down for it. Like that's a moment that kind of strikes me.
Yeah, love it, absolutely.
Got Some is existent. That's what I got.
Here's your follow-up stat. You ready? Follow-up stat time.
Let's do it.
We talked about Hail Hail had only been played 35 times since this show, right? How many times has Got Some been played since this show? Take a guess.
That little thing is like Jeopardy at the beginning. Mm-hmm. You can use that. Got Some's probably been played like 80 or 90 times. I'll say like 35. I'll go with the same number, 35.
Twice as many, 70. Almost 70 times since the show. Got Some has been played twice as much as Hail Hail.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. That to me is an egregious mistake.
Yeah.
I know that you like the song.
I do. I don't mind the song. Mike and Jeff are kind of playing around, having some fun with it. I thought that was cool, fun moment. It's just like it's there. Like we get into that with these late era Pearl Jam songs, right? Supersonic is their take on the Ramones. How Much Your Manners is their take on the Dead Kennedys. Dance with the Clairvoyants is their take on Talking Heads. Got Some is their take on Devo. Like that's what it is. It's their homage song. So enjoy it for what it is. But it's not a heavy hitter. It's not a big emotional soaring moment. They can't all be. I'm not saying they all have to be.
Right.
But it's never really clicked live. And I remember, hearing it on when they played it on the Tonight Show with Conan, on the Conan's first show on the Tonight Show, thinking like, oh, this is gonna be cool. And it just never turned into anything.
Yeah, I think for me, and I should have guessed more because all the shows that I went to in 2013, I think they played Got Some, and they played it mostly in the encore.
They know you love it.
Well, it's that and All Night that they seem to kind of just keep following me around, and I don't know why. Like, okay, these songs are songs, but they're not, my kind of songs. But it just after a while, like I feel like that last show that I went to in 2013, after seeing it so much on that tour, I was just done with it. I was just, after one time is fine, 2 times it's okay, I get it, and then 3 or 4, you want something else. You just want something new. And I know that I'm the minority because they're playing to a crowd mostly that is going to see them for one time only. So if they want Got Some, then fine. But I don't see how anybody would want Got Some more than they would want Hail Hail. I like, let's poll the audience here.
Yeah.
How many people want Got Some? How many people want Hail Hail? I think it's going to be like 90-10.
Yeah.
I'll just put it that way.
But I mean, Got Some's it does kind of kick in, like when the solo kicks in, it rips a little bit, it gets a little bit of edge to it. So, but they kind of never found a spot in that early section with where we talked about where the fixer is.
Right. Yeah, this one is another one that they just kind of seem to keep moving around and trying to find a spot where it works. And I don't know, like here is okay as long as it's not in the encore. I'm okay with it existing, but yeah,
it's another one that like it's almost like a set killer. Like it doesn't do anything for the set. Like we talked about so many of
yes,
these songs. It's just so different than all these other songs that like you're kind of like okay, and like you might kind of like oh it's kind of a
bob your
bop.
head a
Like we'll just
little
kind of
bit.
dance to it a little bit. Like oh that was fun. It's not one of the ones that you're gonna remember like after
No,
the show and be like oh that was awesome.
no, not at all.
Like think of like the next song that gets played. Like that's a big moment because everybody knows it. Like it's
Absolutely.
become it's anthemic. Like everybody like these Backspacer songs. It's just they stand out so much in this set because like they don't fit in. They're so different.
Yeah, more on that at some point, but I'm itching to get into State of Love and Trust and Why Go here to end your set. And I've been looking for this version of State of Love and Trust forever where Ed holds out the listen part for longer than the part is, like kind of going into the do this one myself. This version has exactly what I wanted. Like, how perfect is that? It just kind of hit me that I'm like, whoa. I remember hearing this somewhere. I thought it was a show that I went to, and apparently it wasn't. And he extends that part and just it's kind of like in Black where with the all I'll be line just goes with it, and it's freaking awesome.
Over to where he's singing and it's like playing right to him. They're kind of like staring right at each other when they're playing. It's
Sure.
a really cool moment. And yeah, they're just kind of feeding off each other, you can tell. And like Cameron just destroys the end of it. Yeah, this is great, great State of Love and Trust.
Incredible at the end there. Yes, just ripping a hole into the kid. Absolutely. Just fast versions of State. Kind of after a while can seem commonplace because I think a lot of people kind of want that groove back in the State of Love and Trust, but this one really made you take notice. This one was a good one, especially when you're getting late in the set here. You don't know when the last song is going to be. It's happening right now. It's Why Go. Like, ending on a good positive note is it is definitely sort of the mentality for this whole entire main set. And Why Go was kind of being used as a set closer a little bit in 2010. I think they went away from that for a little while, and now Why Go is kind of, another one of those songs that's within that 3 or 4 kind of deal where they play it real early. But this was great. This is another one where they were all singing at the top of the stage. All of them were doing backup vocals, and it just like had a ton of energy to it. And it's one of those arena songs that shouldn't be taken for granted. I know a lot of people will say the 10 songs, I'm a little bit done with the 10 songs, and this one's kind of predictable that you can get in a set. I'll take it. I'll take it every single night.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like the 2010s have kind of recaptured the magic of it, and that hasn't happened with something like Garden or Deep. But this one, like, people have definitely latched onto. Like, it's a big moment where everybody gets to scream, "Why go home?" Like, this is one, like, the exact opposite of Got Some. All these people leaving the show were like, "Oh, Why Go was awesome to close the set." Like,
yep,
that's a big anthemic moment, and you need those in these shows when you're playing, 30, 32, 35 songs. You need these kind of anchors of the set. And like, yeah, we haven't talked about Why Go very much as a set ender. It pops up only a couple of times, but yeah, I didn't mind it at all. You don't get a porch here, but It's
No.
kind of, you don't. Why go is not something they're gonna do a long like 7 or 8 minute jam on, but it serves the purpose. It gets, and the theme is perfect. Like, why go home? We're gonna come right back with the encore. Fits in perfectly.
I think it works in a lot of places. This place especially as well.
It's a chameleon song. They can put it anywhere. They can put it in Encore 1, Encore 2. I've seen them open up with it. Yeah, anywhere.
For sure. And speaking of Encore, we're here right now, and it's time to pause for station identification and talk about some of the things that are happening in the world of Live on Four Legs, which is actually a lot of things happening right now. You guys have been listening to us the last 2 weeks, and we've been talking about the Murderer's Row episodes. Well, there's one episode that's part of the Murderer's Row that you can only listen to on Patreon, because on the date, August 27th, that's a very important date for 2 reasons, and maybe even some more, that that is the day that 10 was released, and it's going to be the 30th anniversary in almost a week, like basically a week and a half.
We're gonna have to start calling it Dad 10. It's that old.
It has reached that territory, and say what you want, but Pearl Jam is dad rock, and 10 probably personifies it. But we next week are gonna do the Philadelphia 10 show on the main platform, and we have left the Munich 10 show for Patreon. So anybody that's on Patreon will have access to that. And right now we'll sell you guys on joining Patreon. And, it just costs $1 a month for all of our exclusive content, including that Munich show that you'll get, the very first show. And for a long time, the only show where they did 10 in full. That's pretty important, and that's pretty good that we have that kind of access to that bootleg. So we'll talk a lot about that, and you go back into the archives too, the Evolution episodes and Bridge School and some of the other ones that we've done, like Red Rocks and Piss Bottle Men, and we've done a lot. We've done a real lot, and the community over there is great, and the people over there are great, and we try to get people involved as much as possible in kind of seeing where we can bring this show and sort of figuring out what the next stage is for the show. Like, a lot of the patrons definitely help with that for sure. $1, $5, $10 tiers. John, let's talk about the party though, because next week, the day before 10 and No Code's 30th and 25th anniversaries respectively, we are throwing a little party, and it's thanks to the patrons.
It is. We did this with a Christmas party a couple of years ago, and we had a lot of fun with it. Last year. Oh, the years,
I know.
The months are just dragging on.
They sure are.
But we've wanted to do this again for you guys. That one was a lot of fun. We're gonna do some of the same things. We're gonna do some different things with this one, but yeah, we're gonna be unveiling the liveonfourlegs.com, which we're super excited about. We've been working super hard on that with Chris Everett, and I just can't wait for everybody to see it, and I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to have some great guests. We're going to have some music, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
Absolutely. Yep. The Concertpedia is coming, and we like to think that it could hopefully be part of this very prestigious line of concert chronologies that Pearl Jam fans have put together in the past over the lines of Five Horizons and 2 Feet Thick. We hope that we can reach that potential, and we're starting from the later years, so you'll get the 2018, 2016, 2015 shows that weren't covered by those other websites that they don't have, there's no content for out there right now. So that was really important to us that we get that out. And that's going to be next Thursday, the 26th at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Send us a message. Please send us a message if you want to come. Make sure that you have the link for Zoom, and we'll get you right in and just enjoy the night. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on, and you never know what's going to happen in one of these shows. One patron to thank this week, it's Aaron McCauley. Thank you for joining the bonus leg, Aaron. And if you want to join the bonus leg, that's $1 a month. If you want to join the Giga leg, $5 a month. If you want to join the Horizon leg, $10 a month. Hey, that Horizon leg will get you a profile, a bio on our website, which is very cool. You'll be able to see all the rest of the people that have done that. And if you want that, all you gotta do is go to patreon.com/liveonfourlegs or Live on Four Legs on the Patreon app. So it's really easy, and you help us out, and yeah, and then we give you the content. Like everybody wins. It's a win-win situation. So,
And we've got 109 patrons now. So with the 30th anniversary of 10, you could be the 110th patron.
Ooh, that's a great
signs
sell.
up. That's some synergy there. But yeah. Hopefully, Aaron. Hopefully, you're checking out all the bonus content over there. Let us know. Now's a great time to jump in. We always say that, but the more of you guys that are on there, the more it makes us want to do. So we've got some cool stuff planned for over there. We need to do. I think we've got another Evolution episode coming up that we're going to start working on here.
Yep.
And we might have. Been thinking about some Devo ideas, so we might have something a little more lighthearted and fun to throw up there in the next couple of weeks.
There is no lack of content, especially if you're joining right now. There are probably about 50 or 60 episodes that you can just listen to, from Horizon Profiles to Evolution, like we mentioned before, Bridge School, like we mentioned before, and then other just shows from like 91, 92 that are up there available for you guys. So definitely head over, patreon.com/live-on-4legs. And now back to The Rock. And Ed comes out thanking the Boston crowd. It's just him and Jeff on stage with an acoustic, which is pretty much showing their hand. Yep, yeah. Exactly. And they drink a bottle of wine together, and Ed toasts the crowd and remarks on all the championship banners that are up there. B-Girl, it's a cute acoustic song. It's always like a nice touch, and it's one that they don't do very often. I think they've done it more. They've almost done it as much as they've done Hail Hail now. They've played it like 11 times since this date. So
this is one that's followed me around. I've seen it twice.
Sure,
in my 9 shows.
Yeah, you just never know with these ones. I've never seen B-Girl before, and I say that because I've actually have seen B-Girl, but it didn't really count because I went to a sound check and heard it.
Okay,
but it doesn't really count. No, but it was there at least. But I never have much more to say, except the only thing that I'll say about it is I think that every time Ed sings the "those who can be trusted can change their minds" part, I think you should giggle every time he sings that. Because that's going back to the Rockline version.
Yeah. The funny thing for me is watching Jeff really try to concentrate not to fuck up while Ed goes off like on the lyrics, when he kind of loses the melody and starts kind of ad-libbing. Jeff is just trying so hard to not fuck up and play, because he's not a natural guitar player. It's hard for those bass players. I know for sure it's hard for those bass players to transition and play guitar. It's funny to watch him kind of concentrating so hard while Ed's just going off doing his thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you don't even think about that, but yeah, it's definitely a different dynamic when Jeff's out there with a different instrument, that's for sure. Just Breathe, Love Rain Over Me. Just Breathe, full band.
There's bass. There's bass.
There is bass. There's
oh my
boom,
God, I was so happy.
There's Matt. It's a complete version, and it's a 2010 version. Like, I got love for it.
Oh,
there's
fantastic.
Nothing wrong with it at all.
And I was hoping when Jeff came out with the guitar, and Jeff gets to play guitar twice in this show.
Yeah.
For him. Mm-hmm. I was so hoping I was watching this like, Jeff, do not leave the stage. Do not leave the stage. Go back and pick up the bass. Right. Play on Just Breathe, and he does, and it's wonderful.
Yep, that's the version right there, not the acoustic Eddie version that you want.
I love
the whole
these full
entire
band
band
ones so much. Yeah, so much better.
Absolutely, listen to that. That bass is the best part about the song for sure. Love Rain on Me though is just inspiring. That's what I would say about this
Tom
version.
said majestic. He's absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Just like, from the way that Mike is wailing away in the solo to the way that Boom kind of intros the song, and Ed is shredding his voice to the point where, like, you think at one point he's going to hold off a little bit, but he just, at the end, just lets it rip.
Oh, yeah, the end, like,
it's so
Cameron
good.
is just channeling Keith Moon, and then
Yeah.
Ed does that final scream, and he is Roger Daltrey in that moment. Like, that is a Daltrey scream.
Pete Townsend at the end of the song, which I thought was really great. It just like another, them living out their fantasy in that moment. They're playing these songs because
he's 16 years old in his bedroom.
Exactly. When they were 16 years old, they weren't thinking about playing Pearl Jam songs. They were thinking about playing Who songs. So that means probably more to them than playing most other songs in the set list. So that's why they keep doing them. Another rarity, they're not done just yet. Rival is at this show, the One Binaural song. It went 200 shows in between 2003 and the Spectrum show, one of the Spectrum shows. And this would be the first time since that Spectrum show. And then after this, there are 2 other performances in 2016, and that's it. We've covered both of those.
And I've seen one of them. Yeah,
Toronto and Jacksonville, right.
Yeah.
Like, you would think with, like, all of the school shooting epidemics and shit that's happened, this would come back a little bit, and maybe they're just haunted by it? I have no idea.
It's just one of those weird Stone ones. Yeah, and yet another one that we're talking about that has just faded into obscurity. We're near the end of his career, and there's another one coming up too. We're not done with these, but I think Ed talked about earlier. Tonight we're gonna just fuck with things, and we talked about at the beginning where they did pull out one song from each record that was out at the time. I think that these 2 here were not originally on this list here. I think that they scratched those and put these on here just so they could get one song from each album. I think he did that on purpose because there's no other reason to have these 2 songs right here.
Yeah, that's a good call because Save You isn't usually held for an encore kind of spot.
And this is a short encore too. They would never, I don't want to say waste, but they would never use 2 prime spots in an encore, a short encore like this on these 2 songs.
Sure, yeah, you would think
there had
that
to be some last minute restructuring and like, okay, we want to play one song from every album, but he was like, oh, I like the flow of the main set, I don't want to change anything there, but I gotta think it was originally going to be 2 other songs here, maybe, you think like a Jeremy or Breath or like Porch or something, but I've gotta think that those were scratched and these were put here late in the game just to fill that quota.
Well, I can't find an official setlist picture, so I guess we'll never know on that one. Unfortunate for us.
And it could have even done like before we even got to that point, like as he was making it,
Right, no actual scratch offs, just as he's going along, he comes to the realization. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, I think Save You is just kind of that transition almost in this spot to get you to rearview mirror, to kind of, because Rival is so different, and while Love Rain or Me is like, okay, everybody's fascinated, I think maybe some of your crowd that doesn't get the idea that they're playing a lot of rarities at the show would kind of drown out a little bit after Rival. You got to pick them back up with a song like Save You that just has energy into the song where you need that to hold up. You need the energy to hold up.
And we're getting that classic Love, Rain or Me into Rival transition that we've also come to know and love over the years so many times.
Yes, I think that is so perfect and poignant to just Pearl Jam as beings. Perfect. I think that's where we'll end the set tonight. Good night, everybody. Like Rival's the moment from this show. That's for sure.
Name that tune.
Yeah, right. And a lot of people probably can, and I would say some of them probably still can.
Oh, even in Jacksonville, it took me a minute before when the drums kicked in. I was like, wait, what is this?
Do you think that the next show you go to, you'll be able to recognize everything, or no?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think we've done enough studying on that.
Oh yeah.
Unless
they fuck with the Gigaton songs at some point.
Right. Hopefully we haven't ruined it for everybody else, but
we probably
you just
have.
never know.
Sorry,
yeah. Sorry. Oops. We play a lot of music on this show. That's our bad. But Rearview Mirror, you get a really tight but bouncy bridge here. It's definitely kind of the show's identity, and Ed's doing the little I'll forgive but won't forget kind of part.
Long forget part. Yeah, he does a long little improv on it.
It's just juiced. This version's juiced. It just has a lot of energy to it again. Like, you want this song to kind of end the way that you structured this set. You had a couple of quiet ones and a couple kind of I wouldn't say questionable, but Rival is kind of like, okay, what are we doing here? It's another rare one, but it's not a crowd involvement song. So River Mirror needed to be sort of that happy note to end everything on.
Yeah, again, after those two, that you need a big moment to end this, and yeah, Rearview Mirror does the job perfectly. No, never a bad version.
Never bad version of River Mirror. Last week I learned that for the first time, right?
Correct.
Encore 2 right here. Ed mentions that the cow has been spotted. For anybody that knows your Boston show history or Massachusetts show history, the last time that they were there in Mansfield, Stone had a little suckle of a nipple. He went for the udder. Some guy with a cow costume went on stage, and Stone took it upon himself to milk the cow. And yeah, so Ed asked him if his nipples are still sore from when Stone put the udders in his mouth, and asked if he put some cream on it, and said he can't get the image out of his head.
I thought we were going to get some Daniel Johnston here. I thought we were going to get some Walking the Cow, but
that would have been cool. Yeah,
was not to be.
Yeah, I don't really know where to go with on that, because it's just, that's an image that just sort of is imprinted into your brain somehow. And I did on Stone's birthday, we did a top favorite Stone photos. I believe that was a top 3 because it just has to be. Absolutely has to be.
Iconic Stone.
They take a request from a woman named Jen, who they say should have been up front at the show, and that's Smile. And that's going back to what you said before about Jeff grabbing the guitar in this. And this is the 4th No Code song in this show. Positive vibes. Everything sounded real good. Nothing against Smile here. Smile is fantastic. Weeks for Reprise and a Better Man. Reprise is just kind of the intro into it, and then Better Man is usually, if it's not Life Wasted, Better Man is usually the song. And this is one where Ed just kind of soaks it in, and he does this 360 turn sort of when the song pauses a little bit, and he just goes back to seeing the folks behind the stage, who he'll get to address in just a sec. But it's more great crowd response, and you have to think, from this version, a couple nights later is probably one of the best Better Mans of all time.
I'm going to go ahead and spoil my top 3 moments, because this is the number 1 moment. The camera work, whoever got this camera footage shout out to them. Someone got him very close up, and you see his facial reaction. And it's the most striking moment in this show, and he hears the crowd singing along, and he breaks down a little bit, like he tears up. He has to like wipe his eye, because you're watching this dude. And again, like, the song was written 22, 23 years ago. You're watching this dude go through all these emotions, like I said, of looking around and seeing this and hearing, 16,000, 17,000 people singing this song back at him. He just gets overwhelmed. and it is this is the moment from this show and one of the moments from this tour probably, and I'm surprised it didn't get like you said, the MSG version probably overshadows it in retrospect, and like in the movie they go back to that one, but this one I think is just as good. It's that moment, and then going into the save it for later, Reese goes off on the note, and I know I'm all fucked up, and I know I'm all fucked up, and I know I'm all fucked up. Like he's
was similar to last week's improv.
Yeah, he's processing some shit in this version. Like he's thinking about some stuff. Every week I sound like a broken record. He wears his heart on his sleeve. You always know what's going on, and you could tell like this was a special moment for him. I thought it was really, really cool.
I agree.
Number one moment.
That tag is really charged up. It's a really great moment from this show. It's one that, especially late in the show where you don't have a lot of these moments that are kind of come back, it's one where you can kind of soak in the audience and realize that you're in front of one of the best crowds that you've ever performed in. And unbelievable anytime you get it. Like, say what you want. People probably have seen it 20, 30 times by now, but like this is one, to me, I feel like Better Man doesn't get old.
Yeah,
especially when you're there.
We listen to this almost every week, and you think like, oh, the crowd's going to take over, but it's never just a moment to gloss over. It's always special. It's always like, oh yeah, it just gives you chills, makes your hair stand up on your arm. Like it's special.
How are you going to follow that up? So Ed grabs a shirt or something that says Glorified G on it. Stone noodles it for a second, and then he ends up talking about a girl who wrote a letter to Band of Horses and requested Last Kiss. But instead of playing Last Kiss, they're going to play the B-side off the Last Kiss 7-inch, and they're going to play it to the back. Here's an interesting note about Soldier of Love and playing to the back here. We had made a statement at some point when we were talking about some song that was being played to the back about how Cameron had the separate drum set. Mm-hmm. I said the first time that I ever saw that, and going back to my memory and what I've seen from other shows that I've watched, the only other time, like going back, I think the first time that I thought it was Buffalo in 2013, which is a show I was at, and they did Elderly Woman behind the counter. And this version actually has a drum set behind there. There's an extra drum set. So, okay, this is the bar now. If there's one before this, we need to know about it. Because I would be willing to say that one of those 2009 shows, we haven't really touched up on that year at all. I would think that one of those shows, they would do something like that.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out for that for sure. And this is the other one here where they only played it one more time after this in Tampa 2016, and just a random night in Tampa on that tour, they just decided to bring it back. But another one that like has just disappeared. So many, we talked about 5 or 6 of these in this show that like they've almost gone. If not since this show, then just 1 or 2 times since. It's amazing.
I really do love Soldier of Love too.
Yeah.
It just kind of has this like, it's a reminiscent of the '60s and really feels kind of like that early sort of rock and roll introduction phase, and has the poppier vibe to it. And I think it works so well for them too.
He always does it straight. He always sings it like he means it. It's really good. Give me Soldier of Love over Last Kiss any time.
Yeah,
I like Last Kiss. I don't hate it.
I would fully 100% agree with that. I think Soldier of Love is the winner out of the two, but yeah, that's weird. Why he would mention they requested Last Kiss, but they're gonna play the other song.
Yeah,
that's weird that he would say it, but you know, well, at least he mentioned her name. He doesn't do that with everybody. Ed here, this is kind of like one of those things where, you know, it didn't age well, but it aged well kind of things.
We didn't plan this.
Yeah. Ed mentioned Sean Penn, who's working down in Haiti at this time, supporting those that are affected by the earthquakes that were happening down there in 2010. Stone talks a little bit here. He talks about a group called Partners in Health, and he said he was down there for a couple days, going to the hospitals, and encourages the fans to go donate and check it out. And yeah, now we're back full circle 11 years later, and there are fucking earthquakes happening in Haiti again. What the, like...
They had another devastating earthquake on Saturday.
It's like 7.2 or something.
Yeah, last I heard that like over. I know when I was just a couple of days ago when I was listening to this, it was 300 people had died, and now I think I looked today and it was 700 people.
It's terrible.
Yeah, just tragic. And that area, that region, like it's just been devastated so many times. And yeah, you feel for those people, you know. But like you wonder too, like. We've got our own kind of shit going on right now with COVID and everything else. Like, what are we going to be able to do? Like, is anybody going to be able to help them? Like, is Sean Penn going to be able to go back? It's horrible.
And what's going on in Afghanistan right now too?
Exactly. I didn't even want to mention that, but yeah.
Yeah, just absolutely. Just when you think that things are headed on a decent track, it just kind of derails a little bit. So our thoughts are out to if anybody's listening down in Haiti or have relatives down there or know anybody down there, our thoughts are with you guys. Hopefully everybody makes it out safe and alive. The next one, Ed has claimed to never be played in Boston before, and that's Crown of Thorns. I think that there's some statistical discussion about Crown of Thorns to be mentioned here, because after this date, they had doubled this one too. They played it 17 more times.
That's right.
So
but yeah, no Chloe Dancer at this point. That didn't come until the next year.
No, and I wanted to bring that to the conversation too. What do you like better? Do you think you need Chloe Dancer to have a more emotional performance of Crown of Thorns, or you think you're fine?
Yeah, having it by itself is fine. Like, yeah, obviously love it, but adding Chloe Dancer, because it's the thing from Singles that everybody knows, right? Everybody had that, so it's that moment of like when you get Chloe Dancer, it just adds so much more to the whole moment of it. The atmosphere, it makes it that much more special. Yeah, I think so.
I completely agree. One of my favorite things at a Pearl Jam show is going through Chloe Dancer, listening to it, and then waiting for that boom, 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 and like listening to the moment where it can go and kind of directly go into Crown of Thorns. Like, that's one of my favorite things to kind of wait for and anticipate. And, you know, I don't think... Actually, I know the exact date where Chloe kind of became more of a full-time thing, and that's September 11, 2011 in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a really important version of that song. And I think after that, they pretty much took it the whole way through, and there are a couple versions here and there that are just, you know, singular Crown of Thorns. But I agree. I think you do need Chloe with it, but it doesn't take away anything from what Crown of Thorns is and the emotional element that it has to it. I thought this was a very good version.
You know what? I'm thinking after, you know, we've got our Evolution episode come up on Given to Fly, I'm thinking we might have to do a cover song.
I was actually thinking Evolution. The same
thing. This one might be a good one for that. If you guys want to file that away, you might be asked to put in your 2 cents on which one to do, and this one would be a good one.
there's a tough conversation to have between that and Crazy Mary and Rockin' and Baba. And I've got a feeling I think all of those are...
Producer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I Believe in Miracles has a good history.
Great contenders, absolutely. I think we can do some kind of tournament. Whatever the tournament that we decide we can do. All right, this is your call for the end of the night here. It's Alive into Rockin' in the Free World. Big shows need these big moments, and it's a perfect way to end. Alive has that kind of moment at the end where you're getting the War Pigs tag, and everybody's pumping their fist, and they're singing along, chanting along with them. It feels like that big arena moment, and Rockin' in the Free World. This is an above average version of Rockin' in the Free World, and that is because Stone Gossard.
Absolutely. Stone Soul Alert again. This is the one we were talking about.
Yes.
Just rocking the fuck out on that thing over there. He's, killing it.
Yep. Fantastic version. He is dirty on it, and it's a great way to end your night.
We didn't mention too, there's a little other Black Sabbath tag in the live too.
Heaven and Hell.
In the outro, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I kind of didn't catch it.
Really quick, yeah.
Yep. But very cool. There you have a 32-song set list in Boston 2010. Wow. A lot of rare stuff, a lot of stuff that you haven't seen since and you probably never saw before. So we got to pick 3 of them. We already know one that you're picking.
Yeah.
What are the other 2?
Oh, it's tough because I want to do In My Tree. I want to do Just Breathe with the bass. But mine are going to be Undone, number 3. Crown of Thorns, number 2. Just awesome. Again, Tom said it. Majestic covers. And that Better Man moment's number 1 by far.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little different because I think there are tons of moments where you can quantify them being part of the top of the conversation, and one of the probably unsung heroes of the early set for me is Sad. I thought that this version was just rock solid, good fun early on, and one of the lost dogs that just doesn't appear as much as other ones like Sad and Down. I kind of think are the yin and yang where you usually get down, but when you get Sad, that's the one where they know that they're throwing in something special. Sad was great from this show. I'm going to say, oh boy, I always get to this moment where I know number 1, but I don't know number 2. I'm going to say number 2, State of Love and Trust, because I love that part. Ed at the end, where he's holding that note, and Matt at the end is fantastic. The solo is fantastic on that, and it's kind of rounding out the end of the set there. State of Love and Trust is never usually a top 3 moment for me, but I'm going to give it its due here. I thought this was fantastic. And number 1 for me, I think, is Love Rain or Me. I thought that was a wonderful rendition. And again, how powerful the 3 key nucleus parts to this song. Boom begins it, then Mike in the middle, then Ed just finishes out so climactic and just perfectly. Great moment. Tom said it, you said it, majestic. Really was. All right, now we got to put a rating on it. So out of a scale of 1 to 10, what you gonna give it?
I'm going to give this a 9.
Okay.
It's up there.
Yeah.
It's not in the upper echelon of classic shows, but it's very, very good. It's right below that.
I'm right there with you. I'm in between an 8.5 and a 9, and I think I'm totally okay with pushing this one ahead of the game and giving it a 9. And I'll say it maybe has a little bit to do with location, and that when you're in Boston, you're going to get a good show. You're going to get, and especially this set has so much that you just don't see anymore. It's so eclectic that it's going to get talked about and brought up. And I think even outside of Tom, other people that just bring up shows to us and say, when we're saying, hey, do you like this version of this? What's your favorite version of this song? And people be like, oh, from this show. I see Boston 2010 get floated out a lot when those questions are being posed. And I think a lot of our audience skews East Coast and skews Northeast. So that's not surprising, but it's, from all the choices that you have out there, and that's the one that kind of, that rings in your head. So I'm going to give that a 9 as well. And I mean, you can't be part of Murderers Row Month without just being a home run hitter. And a 9 show, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all.
Cool. Yeah, I like it.
All right, we kind of teed up what we're doing next week, but let's repeat ourselves. Next week is the anniversary of 10 and the anniversary of No Code, but this week specifically, we are going to be celebrating 10, and that's because we've had this plan for a while. We've done Moline, we've done Binaural from Toronto, we've done, what's the other one? Of course, yeah, we did Greenville. So we're slowly kind of chipping away at this, and we're getting to the album shows, and we're going to do 2 next week. The first one is probably going to be the big one to a lot of people. It's the Philadelphia 10 show from 2016 when they rose that banner, the 10 banner, for the sellouts in Philadelphia, and they start the show and go right through from once to release in the beginning of the set, and a lot of people just have great memories from that show, so we're going to talk about the whole thing and kind of give the album its celebratory anniversary love. And for Patreon, on the actual day of the anniversary, the 27th, which happens to be probably considered to be the liveon4legs.com launch, even though it's happening on the 26th, we're going to have a lot of content happening on liveon4legs.com on the 27th that are related to No Code and 10, by the way. But Munich, Germany from 1992 is the first time that they ever did 10 or any full album live. Obviously, 1992, there's only one option that you can choose. We're going to be doing that for Patreon. So patreon.com/liveonforlegs if you're not subscribed and want to check out that episode and much, much more. So, yep, we're just continuing on this home run hitting pace. Any parting notes, John?
Oh, it's the 27 Yankees. We're just getting started on this run here.
We're up to Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth hit
almost, yeah. Yeah, the next week's going to be fun. I mean, we talk about these 10 songs every week, but we're going to get to hit every one twice, so it's going to be fun.
Yep. Can't wait for it. And boy, PJ20 is going to be a big one too. So mark that on your calendar. That's beginning of September. All right, let's close this one on out. This may be the end. We're here, but not for much longer. And although we may be parting ways, miss you already. Miss you always. And hey, if you like the show, then make sure you're subscribed to us on the platforms that you listen to this show on, whether it be on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple, YouTube, anywhere. And for all you Apple listeners, we can always use the rating love. Give us a 5-star rating. It'll help our appearance on Apple Podcasts. So whenever people search for Pearl Jam Podcast, we can be first. Hey, we like being up near the top. And, if you guys think that we deserve that recognition, then hopefully we can maintain that. And that's the goal here, to continue that. So thank you, everybody, for listening in. And we will see you for Philadelphia next week. 30 years.
The cow has been spotted.
Baby,